Good morning. You're listening to the Blainsville Show, heard each Wednesday morning here on the new WPVM LP in Asheville, North Carolina. You can also listen online at WPVMFM.org and watch on WPVM's Facebook page. And this is a special edition of the show, heard right now at 10:30 on a beautiful Wednesday morning. And I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield. And each week we focus on the Asheville theater scene as well as on positive news and information about people and organizations in the Asheville area. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce my first guest, and he is the amazing David Troy Francis. Welcome aboard, David.
Thanks so much, Blaine. I'm glad to hear I'm amazing.
Absolutely. And David, also, you're on, I believe, on Facebook Live, and so you can wave to all your fans and friends in Facebook Liveville. There's the camera. I'll have you shift maybe just a little bit.
Hi.
Okay, there you are, David. We'll have you shift a little bit this way, I think. Perfect. And I should mention David Troy Francis is a concert pianist, composer, does some amazing stuff. He's a two-time Pulitzer Prize-winning composer. Ned Rome, is it?
Warren,
I'm sorry, says this of David Francis. He plays the right note with the right tone at the right time. What more can you ask of any performer? And with this, he adds that the element of himself, which is the magic of all true interpreters. Mr. Francis has enjoyed a 50-plus year of musical excellence and performs in recitals throughout America and Europe. So you started when you were 4? Is that it?
I started playing when I was 8.
Where you started playing piano. Wow. And rather than do this whole bio, David, because we could just take up the whole time on your bio, the question I always ask before we talk about why you're here today is you said you started playing piano at the age of 8.
Correct.
What got you into it?
The public schools back then used to provide arts programs.
Can you imagine?
Really, and I grew up in Memphis in a working class neighborhood. The school offered after school piano lessons in class settings. I was in the 2nd grade and went home and said, "Can I take piano?" And my parents said, "If you want to still take in a year, we'll let you," because it was $10 a semester and we were not well off. So in 3rd grade, I said, "Can I take piano?" And they said yes, and the school gives you a cardboard piano to practice. I had that for a year.
The cardboard piano?
Uh-huh.
Oh, what do you mean cardboard piano?
It's a flat piece of cardboard with the black and white keys imprinted on it. And so you, just like this desk, you play. And my mother, bless her soul, used to say, "David, you're playing too loud."
So there's no music coming out of this,
No
right?
music, no.
When did you get your first piano?
About a year later.
What, the folks bought a piano for
Yes,
you?
they did.
Okay. And when was the first time you ever performed for anybody?
That 1 year at the recital at the end of the year.
It was. Do you have a? Too bad they don't have video of that, huh?
Too bad.
I once had an idea, David. You get a kick out of this, that everybody would recreate their first experience. You know, so like I said, a lot of actors and performers. Wouldn't that be cool to have a benefit or something where David Francis plays when he was 9 years old? He plays his first recital. Do you remember the number?
I don't. I do remember what my father told me.
What did he tell you?
before the recital. He said, "If you get nervous, David, just imagine all the people in the audience naked."
That was the line that speakers, they tell the same line too.
Uh-huh.
So did you imagine that?
I did, and it made me smile. And throughout my life, if you see me playing a recital and I smile, it's because I've screwed up and I imagine the audience naked.
The only problem, like I said, the problem I can imagine making you crack up though or something. But that is really funny. You still remember that all these years. So fast forward then. So you played as a kid. You were playing at 9, 10 years of age. Fast forward that in terms of your musical background. Did you just go to school for it, or did you continue with it?
Yeah, I studied all my life. I was, I guess, considered a prodigy, but I was a prodigy that practiced. And I got a degree in piano performance and then studied after college with concert pianists, one from Argentina, one from New York, and continued studying until my late 40s, early 50s.
You said something interesting, that you said you were piano, what did you say, prodigy?
Mm-hmm.
No, but then you said to practice. What did you say about practice?
I said I was a prodigy that loved to practice.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say, and that is unusual,
That's
right?
unusual.
That practicing didn't bother you?
I love it.
Do you still practice?
I do.
How much?
No more than 2 hours a day anymore. I used to practice 9, 10, 11 a day.
Did you
For
really?
decades, yeah.
And you didn't get tired of it?
It can become tedious, but if you want to play the music correctly, you better practice.
So you still play 2 hours a day?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And what do you play on whatever you have or?
I have a 7-foot Yamaha at my house,
Oh,
and first thing every morning, scales.
do you really?
Uh-huh.
And to keep up, you have to do that?
I think so.
Yeah. So you then started performing at what age?
I started performing very, very early. I started playing at church by the time I was 10. Got my first job playing for church when I was 12,
Wow.
and just
And so that was pretty cool. You were a 12-year-old and you had a paid gig?
I did.
The church actually paid you.
They did.
So can you imagine some people can make money playing the piano?
Yes, they can. I've done okay.
Okay, not everybody, but you can. Well, that's why, David, I think we talked off the air at one time. I'm a big believer in that, by the way, that performers should be paid. That, like, I guess all your life, too, it might be a dichotomy, you do paid gigs, but people ask you to also do non-paid gigs?
Sure, they do, of course. And when you're young, you do a lot of pro bono because somebody asks you. But as you get older, you can become more picky, and you can choose the projects to which you donate your time and energy.
That's kind of a cool thing, like you said, that it's your choice, not somebody else's choice.
Correct.
But David, you'll get exposure. That's every musician, right? You'll get exposure. Come to do a show for us, and all these people will see you. But exposure doesn't, I guess, pay the bills
No, it does not.
too much. So we're blessed then, David. So in terms of one thing you're not getting paid for, but I guess did you have the idea for this upcoming concert?
I did not. Pam Seekman.
Well, let's talk about that. So, again, we'll just show it a little bit. I think we can see it. I'll try to show it up close. But there's a concert coming up called Imagine. It's happening this Sunday night.
At 7 p.m., Dinah Wortham Theater.
And what's the idea behind that?
Pam called me about a year ago when I lived in Mexico, and she said, I'm now, she's the, I don't know her title, but she raises money for Haywood Street and this fresco, and she said, would you come play a concert and raise money? And she explained to me that the project was to create this fresco 27 feet by 11 in the traditional Italian Renaissance way is how they're creating it, and that it was going to be a stunning work of art. And I said, rather than me coming and playing by myself, how about we get the most extraordinary artists from North Carolina to all participate? And we have brought together incredibly gifted artists from multiple musical genres who are all going to share the stage for the benefit of a visual work of art.
And I think you were the one who got most of the entertainers, or
Yes.
all of them. And how did you get them? You just asked?
Yes, I just called people I knew, and with the exception of Jake Steinbeck, who is a Juilliard ballet dancer who tours with Monix. He's incredibly talented, and a friend told me about him, and I called him, and he said, sure.
Well, this is going to be some show. I mean, I don't know if Asheville's ever quite seen anything like this, because the cool thing I think about it, that no matter what your musical interests, you're going to find something that you're going to enjoy.
Absolutely, and if you find something you don't like, it'll be gone in less than 6 minutes.
Well, I was telling you, I love that idea, the show too, because again, you're going to have all this. You have how many different acts? Ballpark?
16, 15.
16, and they're just going to all do one or two numbers each one.
Some are doing one number, some are doing two, some are doing three. The show will be under 2 hours with intermission.
And I really give you credit for that. I'll hold you to it. But you'll actually now. Are you going to do a dress rehearsal?
We're having a rehearsal Saturday at Dinah Wortham with each act from between 10 and 6. We'll be there all day.
Okay, but you have it planned out that you'll be able to get them in and out within 2 hours,
Absolutely,
including a finale.
including the finale. The finale is fabulous. Volunteer chorus. We have 2 choirs singing different things with percussion playing different fields, and a band and digital. Dr. Melody Galloway of the Asheville Choral Society and the head of the vocal department at UNCA is conducting. It's going to be terrific.
Sounds like you are going to almost have more people on stage than the audience. I mean, you have a
We've sold, we'll sell out. We have about 25% of the tickets left.
But I'm saying, just it's going to be fun to watch a finale. You're going to have, what, 50 people on stage? Or
More.
a lot of people on stage.
A lot of people.
Can you tell us what the finale is, or is that going to be a surprise?
No, it's two pieces from the film The Mission, composed by Morricone. One is called Gabriel's Oboe, with Brian Seaton playing the oboe solo. And the second is involving the choir and the oboe and the percussion and the digital, and is called On Earth as It Is in Heaven.
Now, we're going to be blessed also by the fact that you're going to be performing as well.
Sure, I'm going to play a 6-minute excerpt from Rhapsody in Blue.
Oh, okay, cool. And aside from you, David, and we'll see if we can just talk about some of the other performers, and feel free to comment on them. But you put together then these 15, 16 performers, and who are some of them?
Lau Magie will be singing gospel. J. Franklin Kill, principal cellist of the Asheville Symphony, will be playing a little Bach on the cello. Pastime, a fabulous a cappella group, will be performing. Jordan Sheffer. They have a competition. It's like American Idol, but it's for people who are blind. And Jordan Sheffer won the North Carolina version and came in third naturally. She's fabulous. 18, I think. And
How did you find out about her?
I've worked with her before when I lived here,
Okay.
previously to raise money for WNCAP, your guest later. And Carol Dermott, who is known all across Western North Carolina for her fabulous voice and her acting and entertainment.
And just hold on that. We'll come back to the concert. But I think I first met Carol through you, or through a show you were doing, and that was just such a delightful show. Too bad she won't be doing a number from that show, but that was Bach.
Uh-huh.
And that's something else you've done in your spare time? What gave you the idea to write, I guess it was a play? A musical.
Right.
Yeah.
I was in Los Angeles. I lived there for 30 years, and a friend of mine at ABC knew two writers who wrote documentaries, and they were creating a mockumentary, fictional, farcical version of a mockumentary, and it was called Dogs. So they hired me. I wrote 4 songs. I liked the songs so much. I went to my friend, Bob Schrock, who had a musical running off Broadway in New York for 17 years, and I said, do you think we can make this into a musical? Because I always wanted to write one, and he said yes. And so we created Bark over the next year, and then it opened and became the 3rd longest running show in LA history, and it's been produced in 3 continents and multiple American cities.
So how many songs were in it total?
How many songs?
Yeah.
Maybe 17, 18, I don't remember.
But again,
I wrote 80.
did you really?
I did. You throw away the ones that aren't as good as the others or that don't work as well.
So the incredible thing is I was blessed to also, again, see that show when it was done here in Asheville.
Uh-huh.
That's where I first met Carol at Asheville Community Theater. And what a delight, but to have these dogs are, how would you describe it? They're just talking their thoughts?
Yeah, it's all from the dog's perspective. And there are 3 female dogs and 3 male dogs. One's a high-maintenance bitch that's an opera diva, and one has addiction issues, and one is owned by Jewish parents, and so she kvetches all the time. We have a puppy. We have a cross-dressing a mutt who cross-dresses as a Chihuahua, and then we have a chocolate Labrador.
When it was done at Asheville, that wasn't the first performance, was it?
No. In many cities before Asheville.
Will you be doing another show?
Yeah, it's gonna.
No, I mean, will you be doing will you
new
be
one?
writing another musical?
I created a joint musical with Francis Cullinan, who lives here, called Naughty But Nice, that also played at Asheville Community Theater, that sold out every seat, and is based on the music of Cole Porter and Noel Coward.
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't think I saw it.
Very
Oh,
fun.
That's
Very
cool.
fun.
Is there another one down the road?
There is. I don't want to talk about it, but yes, there is.
So, So you said you were a songwriter. Popular music or what kind of music?
Theatrical.
Do you write classical music at all?
I have. I was commissioned to write a suite with Gavin Dillard for the Asheville Gay Men's Chorus Cantaria. It's about 15 minutes with 4 musical works in it that sort of have various musical styles.
Do you enjoy writing?
I do. I love it.
Writing or performing? What do you prefer?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I've never been asked that before. I don't know. I'd have to think about it.
You know, it's interesting because you're also, I guess, directing this extravaganza.
Yes.
Are you directing it too? And I'll ask oftentimes directors, what do they prefer? Do they prefer the directing part or the performing part? Is this the first type thing you've ever directed of this
No.
magnitude? Or you've done other benefits?
I've done other, yeah, oh, yeah,
You've done a couple?
many, many, many.
Yeah. Do you like doing that, putting everybody together?
I do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially with people that you love working with. Simone Vigilante is probably the best operatic soprano in North Carolina. She's singing. I love playing for her. The Asheville Community Theater is performing under the direction of Jerry Crouch.
Oh, is he doing?
He's directing their segment.
What segment? Can you tell us what they're doing?
They're doing selections from 3 or 4 separate musicals, including Footloose, I think The Wizard of Oz, Hands on a Hard Body, maybe, I don't remember.
Oh, that'll be fun because I think they were telling me about Dylan Giles. Do you know Dylan yet? Is
I
he?
don't know him yet.
Okay, but is he? I think
He's
he's
in
fun.
it.
Oh, it's fun though. Okay, another reason to see it
Absolutely, yeah.
because he does a lot of stuff for them, and I think some of the other actors they were telling me they're going to be in this. So that'll be fun though. Just a bunch of numbers.
Yeah, there's, I don't know, 15 people in their group.
Oh, are they really?
I'm sure it'll be fabulous. Anything Jerry
Yeah,
Crouch does is
exactly.
fabulous. So I love Asheville Community Theater there, and Karina Lopez
Yeah.
is the costumer there.
Right.
Is allowing us to borrow some of their costume shop things.
I didn't realize that. I just saw Asheville Community Theater. I didn't know what they were doing, but that'll be fun too.
Absolutely.
So let's go back. I interrupted you. We were talking a little bit about Carol's going to be in the show, marvelous performer. Some of the other folks, do you remember?
Absolutely. I remember them all. Asheville Community Theater closes the first half. Incredibly entertaining and remarkably gifted band, Drayton and the Dreamboats, opens Act 2.
And I hadn't seen them either, I don't think, until I saw you into a couple of weeks ago, or this week even, on WLOS, and they put a clip from there.
They're fabulous, huh?
What kind of music how would you describe their music?
I think that what their special gifts are arranging music from 1920s on. So I went to see them at the Crow and Quill when I first saw them. The place was packed. People were there from 18 to 80, and they appeal to that broad swath because they play music from all decades, and then they arrange it in ways you've never heard it. Drayton plays electric violin. Tim Doyle plays guitar. Matic Frick plays drums, and Craig Sandberg plays bass. They're all very talented musicians, and they have done it. They've given their talents to this concert.
And just watch them moving around was fun. You know,
They're great.
they're very high energy.
I don't want to give away
Okay.
how fun they are, but yeah, they're worth the concert by themselves. Kimberly Kahn is one of my favorite classical pianists in Asheville, and she'll be playing. Andre Ellerby, who's an incredible blues singer, backed up by Barry Pate, Will Jones, Simone Vigilante, and Carol Dermott.
Oh, wow.
And then we have the choral thing at the end. It's going to be quite a concert.
But also, to your credit, is, and people don't, I think, realize this, that it just doesn't come together. You've been in rehearsals with most of these people, too, for the last couple of weeks. Is that correct?
Longer.
Yeah.
With Andre, last 3 or 4 months, Simone the same, Carol Dermott the same. Carol is also co-hosting this event with me, and she is just hysterical.
Well, anything she does, she's just an amazing performer, too.
I totally agree.
But fun, and whatever she does, it's just really good. So I didn't know she's co-hosting it with you, too. And great. So when people come there, so it's a nice thing you're promising people, so it starts at 7 o'clock on this coming Sunday, is that correct? Dinah Wortham. And that somehow you're going to be able to get them out by 9 o'clock?
Absolutely.
With this finale?
Absolutely.
Because that must be a logistical nightmare, is it, to get, Because too many times you've probably seen concerts too yourself, where when you have different groups, each one takes 15 minutes to set up, which
No.
is really, really annoying.
Thank God to Sylvia Pierce and Michael Lowry, the technical and lighting directors over at Donna Wortham. We've had multiple meetings with the idea that this show goes quickly, briskly, entertains you, makes you laugh, and every now and then is poignant.
Almost reminds me, like, I'm really, now you have me really looking forward to it. And you, the other day when I spoke to you, it's almost like a mini version of the Ed Sullivan Show. You're going to have 15 different acts or whatever the number of acts, and each one's a little bit different too.
They're all very different.
Now, are you going to be the master of ceremonies?
Carol and I are co-hosting.
Oh, is it? Oh, that's what Carol's going to be doing.
Yes.
She is so good, though, and that's great too. Now, talk a little bit then about the fresco project, because you walked me through it the other day. I was just blown away by it. That you were brought in, I guess, to help raise funds for that project.
Correct.
And-
There's the Haywood Street congregation over on Haywood Street in Patton. Brian Combs is the pastor, and I'm 67, and I have seen ministries from every perspective. In my personal viewpoint, this ministry he has created is, I almost want to say, the divinity rather than the humanity. But they actually really help real people with real needs. Their primary mission, he uses the word unhoused rather than homeless, which I understand, and to people with substance abuse issues. I know 3 people in Asheville alone whose child died of an overdose. This place helps people. They provide them the tools necessary if they're ready to get beyond those kinds of things. They have partnerships with La Strada, Curate, all the fine chefs and restaurants in Asheville. They feed, I believe, between 500 and 800 people every week. Everyone is welcome, professionals, students, and you're seated at round tables and you have conversations that you do not have in your normal day-to-day lives. And it's illuminating and extraordinary. They have volunteer barbers to cut their hair. I could go on and on about this urban ministry. But they had the wisdom and the foresight to commission Christopher Holt and his incredible team of artists, all of whom are very credentialed and extraordinary, to create this fresco.
And so the fresco you were showing me the other day, so it's at the front of the church.
Yes.
And describe it for the benefit of the folks who don't
It's
know.
27 feet wide by 11 feet high. The plaster is about 2 inches thick. They are using the same method to do this fresco as Michelangelo did to create the Sistine Chapel. It is a tedious and laborious, incredible process, which makes me understand why nobody does frescoes. But they are brilliant. The Beatitudes is the underlying basis of the images. The people who populate this fresco are all current unhoused people in Western North Carolina. And it's uplifting to look at it. I think it's going to be a work of art and a masterpiece.
And like you were saying, it's just cool. You were showing it to me the other day, or I guess it's, how far along is it? Where
They're
I saw
going to
the other
finish
day?
in late September, October.
Okay. But I was impressed because the people, as you were saying, who are the people in the art?
Are all homeless people currently.
And they're all the people who are served by.
By Haywood Street, right.
It was kind of cool that some guy was telling me the other day, that's him up on the wall, which is really kind of a neat thing to do, though.
One of the homeless guys that's represented on the left, who is like a guardian of the fresco in the picture, died recently of cancer. But before he died, he said, "The honor of my life is to be in this fresco." And it just gives me chills that in Asheville, once again, Asheville, with its quirky, incredibly giving and artistic culture, has found a pastor and an artist and volunteers to actually serve the needs of real people.
Whose idea was it to come up with the fresco?
I'm not I think it was Brian Combs, the pastor, and Pam Seekmans and Christopher Holtz. I don't hold me to that. I don't know the the etymology of that.
Do you know how long they've been working on it?
A long time, years.
Has it really?
At least he's been drawing for a year because they sketch. His team of 3 to 5 people all sketch every person in there. Then they get together and decide how they want it to really look, and then they scale it up, 8 or 9 feet or whatever, and create drawings. And then they trace the drawings, and they take the tracings and punch holes into the plaster so that the paint absorbs. It is incredibly difficult. I couldn't do it. I can't paint stick people either, though.
What was so cool the other day when I met you at the Haywood Street congregation, you gave me the tour, and we went on an official tour after that, to see how that congregation is just, they're working, but the congregation is still going on. The, that they were still having their service, they have regular services, I guess, and then to see the lunch, and lunch itself was so impressive that all people were being served too, and with they had tablecloths and flowers, and it
And
was
free.
yeah, exactly. It was a free thing, and they do that I think twice a week.
Twice a week on Wednesday. They have 4 seatings on Wednesday, and then on Sunday they serve breakfast. I'm not sure what time, but in the morning.
And it's also impressive, as you were saying, that they had barbers in there and they were giving everybody haircuts. I guess the key is to treat everybody with dignity, or
To see them as people and not as some other, I think is their driving kind of thing to make it a relationship.
as we close, David, have you done anything else with Haywood Street congregation in
I
the
have
past?
not. This is my introduction to them.
Okay, a great introduction. And to review again, the concert's coming up. We're having problems with our mics, I think. I'm not quite sure why, but maybe come a little bit closer. But
Okay.
again, the show is going to be this coming Sunday night.
7 o'clock, Dinah Wortham Theater. You can get tickets at dwtheater.org online and look for the concert Imagine. It's the first listing on the Dinah Wortham website.
And the key is the theater is spelled the correct way. Is that correct?
Yes, Theatre.
And there's a whole debate on that, whether that's the correct spelling or not. I think it is. Wait, David, I really appreciate you coming on board. I look forward to seeing you on Sunday night, hopefully many more
Absolutely.
times. And it's going to be a great concert. So you were saying not a lot of tickets left, so get your tickets soon.
Get them today or tomorrow.
Okay, and you get to see David Troy Francis and a whole bunch of great entertainers. And we look forward to seeing you then, David.
Thank you for having me, Brian.
Okay,
It's
as always, a
terrific.
pleasure. Okay, thanks, David. As David works his way out, I'm going to give you a job, David, and your job is to get the other guys to come in, and I'll kind of talk as David's going out and mention the fact, good seeing you, David. Thank you. That support for this show and WPVM is underwritten by the Grail Movie House, Asheville's alternative cinema. The Grail Movie House is an independent, locally owned 3-screen cinema located in downtown Asheville. For current features, visit the Grail website at grailmoviehouse.com or the Grail's social media pages. And as the other guests are working their way in, I should mention 2 upcoming shows in the area. I think, guys, here, we'll just pull up one more chair, and I think we'll be all set, and we're going to share one of the mics, just get them set up with the mic, if you can. I should mention that upcoming, there's a really good show sponsored by Asheville Rotary on August 22nd at Highland Brewery Company, and that's going to be an intimate concert experience benefiting the Rotary Club of Asheville's tenant scholarship program for local high schools. They're going to have a whole bunch of Nashville songwriters in the round, or a whole bunch of local songwriters, others as well. In addition to that show, a friend of mine, David Joe Miller, has Out of the Bag, a night of storytelling with Murphy Funk House Our Caps. And it's produced by David Joe Miller and featuring Rhoda Weaver singing a cappella. And that will be on, if I can find the time, on that date. We have somewhere here. I'll look at the date. That'll be on August 15th at 7 p.m. And that will be at, for information on that, you can go to Eventbrite, I guess, if you want to find information about that. It's next my pleasure to introduce 3 guys. I've only met one of these guys, but they're 3 guys from an organization which I've been wanting to feature on the show, and that's, if I can find all my information here, The information is the WNCAP organization. I'd like to welcome you guys, first of all, being on the air. We're going to have to juggle two mics. We're going to move that back and forth. You can also wave to your many fans and friends on Facebook if you want to say hello to your many fans and friends on Facebook. And I think, let's see, do we have everybody in the camera? We don't have you in the camera, so I may have to shift over, guys, a little bit. You can stay there, perfect. You can shift over there as well.
They say
And
I have a face for radio.
you're still not there, though. So Michael, we're going to have you move over. We're getting closer into it. Sorry about that. One, a little bit more, a little bit more. So we want to have that face. You're still not there. The other Michael can see it. We're almost there. Thank you. Just a little bit more. One more shift over. And I think we just about have everybody. Thanks, guys. Sorry about that. Let me introduce our guests then. They're all from WNCAP organization. Let me see if I can get the names right. It's Michael Pondel, who's just now in the screen. And Michael, you're the communication coordinator for WNCAP?
Correct, yes.
Is that correct? And by the way, everybody can wave to your friends and friends on Facebook Live. That's great. And lean over. That's great, Michael. That's what we want to get you in the picture. We also have Devin Lipford.
Hello.
And Devin's with the HIV, STD, hepatitis prevention
Correct.
educators. That's part of your group.
Yep.
I think I'm getting names. And we also have the other Michael, and he is Michael. What? Harney, and Michael's with the also with the organization as well. And let me just go from the very beginning for the benefit of the listeners who don't know what WNCAP is. Anyone just take a stab of describing what WNCAP is? Who wants to grab it first? We'll all fight for this.
Well, I'll start off and say a few things. WNCAP, the Western North Carolina AIDS Project, was formed in 1986 at a time when the epidemic was still new and people would come home to Asheville to basically to die. And in WNCAP's early days, we were visiting them in hospital wards and spending time and touching them when there was so much stigma. And obviously, since that time and as treatment has evolved, WNCAP has grown into a full-service, comprehensive organization for people living with HIV, but also the general public, doing prevention and testing. And obviously, I'll let Michael talk more about that aspect.
And just even before Michael talks about that aspect, Michael, in terms of you guys have all been with WNCAP a couple of years, you more than a couple of years, how did you get involved in the first place?
I myself got involved in it in 1993.
Sorry about that. I have to hold that up a little
it's
bit. Yeah.
okay. In 1993, I came to make a donation. At the time, people were given 20% donations of proceeds they had earned or had raised. And I met a guy named Marty Prairie, who was an openly HIV-positive gay Native American guy that worked in the prevention department. He said, "Yeah, we'll take your money, but is that your pickup truck out there? Can we use it to help move somebody's furniture? And can you sit at our Bell Share booth at the time? And can you do this other and whatever
Remember
volunteer work?"
Bell Share? There was a thing called Bell Share.
Bell Share. Some of you might not even know what that is.
Right.
Big festival we had. So that's how I got involved, and eventually got a job as a street outreach worker downtown when it was very dead here at night and in public sex environments, and trying to reach out to give people condoms and talk about getting tested, knowing their status, that kind of thing. That's how I got started.
Devin, the same question too. That how'd you get involved in this?
Yes. To be honest with you, I was kind of unfamiliar about about HIV and AIDS when I first entered the organization, but after 2.5 years, I kind of developed a passion for the work because I just realized that we are essentially in a public health crisis, and how much there still is a great deal of stigma, shame, when there comes to things like HIV, injection drug use, things like hepatitis, and I just feel like it's my duty and obligation to kind of spread information and educate people, but more importantly, let people be aware of their status. That's one of the most important things, is letting people going out, doing testing, doing education, telling people the facts, and in hopes that everybody would know their status.
And one of the things I was impressed with the very first time I met you, I was at Haywood Street Congregation. We were talking about it just before. I see this guy at a booth, and he's saying, he's giving out T-shirts and saying, "Do you want to be tested?" And explain what that was all about.
Yeah, so we go to Hayward Street Congregation the fourth Wednesday of every month, and we go to various different facilities and do testing and education over there. But my thing is, it really doesn't matter what type of background you come from or your history or anything like that. We're all susceptible and vulnerable to different types of infections, and there's information that just a lot of people are not aware of. And like I said, it's just really important to us that we go out to the community, tell folks what we do, and the services that we offer. And the testing process is fairly simple. And like we talked about before, a lot of people get really intimidated by being tested, and there's still, I'm gonna use this word again, stigma associated with just being tested in general. So it's a very simple process. You get a simple finger stick, and you get literally 1 drop of blood, and in about 15, 20 minutes time, we'll have a result for either HIV, hepatitis C, and yeah.
We'll talk a little bit about that. I'll ask Michael to talk about it in terms of, you know, how prevalent is that even a concern now? In other words, that what was it, early 90s or 2000, with the big push, everybody's worried about AIDS, But is that still a problem now with hepatitis and this whole issue? Is it still a concern?
It absolutely is. And, we were just talking about this a little bit before, and I'll let Michael talk more about it. We, in North Carolina as a state, is still one of the highest states in terms of people living with HIV and new cases of HIV every year. In our western region, we don't have quite as prevalent new cases of HIV, but we are seeing cases of hepatitis C on the rise, and I'll let Michael Harney talk about that too, because he really is the expert.
I'll talk about it, but Michael, would you tell us, there's an upcoming listening session in Bryson City, is that right?
Yeah, actually, all of these things we're talking about are really applicable. There's an event on Monday, August 5th. It's part of the Ending the Epidemic initiative, which is going on all over the state. It's being spearheaded by folks from the North Carolina Department of Health and also the North Carolina AIDS Action Network. And we're inviting people who are living with HIV, people who've been affected by HIV, and really anyone, because we are all at risk of contracting HIV or Hep C. We're asking them to come to this listening session in Bryson City because we want to hear from the people who are directly affected. We want to make an action-centered plan to finally end the epidemic in North Carolina, but we can't do it as a top-down thing. We have to involve the grassroots, the people that are actually living with this virus on the ground. So I would encourage everybody to go to our website, WNCAP.org, or find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to learn more about that.
An interesting concept. So describe it a little bit more. Are you calling it a listening session?
We're calling it a listening session because basically what it is, food and refreshments will be served. But what we really want to hear from is the folks who are living with HIV. Maybe they've been recently diagnosed, or maybe they're a long-term survivor. Maybe they've been living with HIV since the 80s or 90s and they're still here. We want to hear from people whose family, friends, community members have been affected by HIV. And the reason is because we feel, and the state feels, that for too long, HIV eradication strategies have neglected the very people that they are designed to help, as opposed to, from the very beginning, involving the stakeholders at every level. It's sometimes the policymakers and the decision makers never actually find time to talk to those folks. And so from the very beginning, these listening sessions have been going on all over the state. And here in our western region, and WNCAP is the only HIV/AIDS provider in this 18-county western region, we want to gather folks in Bryson City on August 5th. Again, please go to our Facebook page for more details or to the WNCAP website, but I did want to throw that out there.
That would be great. And a challenge, I guess, if you get some also politicians there, but that's a tough thing to do sometimes.
Yes, well, we have some really great local politicians here in Asheville, North Carolina, that we have had good relationships. Of course, could have stronger relationships with, but once a year we go to Washington, D.C. for a program called AIDS Watch. WNCAP sort of spearheads the Western North Carolina presence at AIDS Watch. and also an event at the state level called HIV Speaks on Jones Street. This is where we talk to state lawmakers about HIV and hepatitis C treatment and prevention initiatives that they could help with.
I'm sorry, I cut Michael off. You were
Not
saying.
at all. I was just, I'm glad that Michael P., he's Michael P., I'm Michael H.
Okay.
Sometimes at the office we have to distinguish that.
And it's confusing.
But some other information that people might want to be able to find would be at cdc.gov. So CDC is the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. It's a government domain. And a lot of really good basic information. You can find all the high-end guidelines and new technologies and information there. But just some of the basics on any disease from A to Z. I always present from asthma to Zika. If you want some basic information, if you're trying to create a bulletin board, if you have a school project, what a great place to find just the basic information. So about HIV or about hepatitis C. Two numbers that you might be interested in that the CDC estimates about 1,200,000 or so people living with HIV in this country and 3.5 million people living with hepatitis C. So twice as many. And we do, as Devin was saying, free HIV and hepatitis C rapid testing. So it's a screening tool. We find many, many more cases of hepatitis C where people just had no idea that they may have been exposed or even infected. There's a confirmation test that has to happen if we pick up a positive in our screening test. It's called an antibody test. It just shows that your immune response has created kind of an army to fight off the invader, the antigen. So any county health department in the state of North Carolina offers free testing for chlamydia, gonorrhea, syphilis, HIV, and now hepatitis C. That's important to know. You can call any county health department or go to another county health department if you're uncomfortable being in your own county, thinking that maybe people would know you or know your status if they found out your test results.
And one of the things I know that you and Devin do too, you also go out to the schools. Is that correct?
Yes,
And talk a little bit about that, Devin.
Yeah, so like I said, we go anywhere and everywhere. If somebody asks us to do a program about, we call it HIV 101, HIV, hepatitis C, STD 101 session, where we talk a little bit about everything. HIV, how you get it, the types of transmission, the bodily fluids that transmit the virus, just basic community level information that we all should know. So we go anywhere from Hayward Street Congregation, we go anywhere from the detox facilities, inpatient, outpatient recovery centers, even do a little sex ed for the high school systems, and starting that conversation early out and talking about our bodies, consents, and just the little things that we often not think about.
It's probably both exciting and frustrating when you try to reach school systems that some are probably receptive to you and some don't want to see you at all or hear from you at all.
Yes and no at the same time. What's more important is we talk to the younger folks and try to get the message out very early, because I didn't get it. I didn't get that same
sure.
type of conversation when I was young, and I'm still relatively very young, and it really sets a if you got to start off early, because if you don't start off early, it's setting a bad example, I guess.
Your point's well taken about like school systems. If you can't reach kids through the school system, are there other ways you reach kids?
Excuse me?
Are there other ways you reach kids if you can't reach them through the school system? How else do you reach them? Like, do any churches invite you in at times?
Yeah, so we have did various church partnerships, and also we work like a lot with that Hayward Street Congregation, and also the county health department too, trying to spread out how you can easily be tested. That's your tax-paying dollars hard at work. So there shouldn't be that type of shame going to the health department and getting tested, because at the end of the day, we got to look after our own body.
I'll say one other thing, that a lot of times we're invited to come to maybe a college event, whether it's AB Tech or UNCA, Warren Wilson, Western Carolina University, some of the different schools. So it might be the schools of nursing or social workers, or they may just have an event. UNCA has this love event around February, kind of thing. And so things like that also take us out into the community a little bit. And it always trickles down. We talk about, well, now that you have it, you can share this with your brother and sister, or you can help talk to your cousins about this kind of thing. That it's not something that we can completely do. If there are 800,000 people roughly in Western North Carolina, how do we reach out to all those people if you're not going to talk to your 5 or 10 or 15 friends and family members and coworkers and neighbors? It's that sort of thing.
Do you help people communicate with others about what they have and how they can deal with it or accept it?
Sure, and we do a lot of advocacy. Michael P. Has a group of advocates that come together. They create a newsletter, at least as a monthly or quarterly, and quarterly. And so these advocates, they get out there and they really show how powerful it is to make their voices heard, to reduce the stigma, to take the power back, and not to be ashamed of what's a virus. A virus loves us. Viruses, they survive being hosted in human bodies as bacteria and parasites and funguses do. And so to see this as a virus and to reduce that stigma that occurred in the early epidemic, that HIV does not discriminate, it simply looks for another human being in which to be transmitted. So to see it that way, that we're really all sharing this space and place called Earth, how do we get along and understand a virus is just a virus. It's not really any different than any other in that sense.
And talk about, Michael, you said that advocacy group. I want to
Yeah.
talk about two things. One, in terms of what it does, and I want to talk about if others want to get involved in this.
Yeah, so Michael made a bunch of really good points. One of the key things we find everywhere, but especially in our service area, which is 18 counties in Western North Carolina, it can get very rural, it can get very sort of traditional in people's mindsets, and the science behind, living a long and healthy life with HIV is at this point simple. We're talking about one pill a day with few side effects. We're talking about depleting the viral load in your body so much that it's not even detectable. And when you reach that undetectable point, you cannot transmit HIV sexually. We call it U equals U, undetectable equals untransmittable. So, but if it was that easy, why do people still contract HIV? Why do people still, in fact, die of stage 3 HIV or AIDS? Well, it's because of this stigma piece. It's because of this this problem where people feel like they can't get tested or treatment because they feel shame, because there's something wrong with them. And so there's a excuse me, there's a bunch of ways that we try to diminish this stigma, right? Part of it is empowering people who are living with HIV by bringing them into the process, this listening session, by making them agents of their own change, by making them advocates, by bringing folks to Capitol Hill, to Raleigh, and then also just through our events. Every year, many listeners in the community are probably familiar with Dining Out for Life, which happens the last Thursday of April, where 100 restaurants around town give 20% of their proceeds to WNCAP, and we have these ambassadors. Just the fact of people saying the words HIV prevention, get tested, go to WNCAP, that's as big of a benefit as any of the fundraising, because it's that sort of thing where we get out of this silence and start talking about it, and start talking about it as a medical condition which can happen to anyone. We start taking off those layers of shame and symbolism that have stuck to HIV/AIDS from the very beginning. That's when we can actually get to zero.
If folks want to get involved in WNCAP or some of the good stuff you're doing, what do they do?
It's a great question. The best thing to do would be to go to our website, WNCAP.org, WNCAP.org. If they're on social media, they can find us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. If you're a little bit more old school, you can give us a call at, what's the number, Michael?
It's 828-252-7489. We have
That's it.
extensions.
People use phones?
Yeah,
They still do?
and look, I don't have a cell phone. Everybody knows that.
Oh, really?
So that's why I'm kind of being teased about it.
Yeah, you can send a raven to Michael, I guess, get in touch with him.
Smoke signals.
Yeah. But seriously, yeah, that, or also you can always send us an email at info, at wncap.org.
Michael, you were indicating to me, too, one of the things that you're involved in also is, what do you call this?
Loving Food Resources.
And what is that?
So Loving Food Resources came out of the community's need to provide food, nourishment for people with HIV and AIDS. And so they are one of Manna Food Bank's largest clients, and they provide food boxes to our clients each week. on Saturdays. They also provide food boxes to people who are homebound through hospice care. But we also collaborate, and we have a grant to help pay for this. We take food boxes through LFR out to the 18 county regions. We have peer support navigators and the drivers who take food out to people who are maybe isolated, who don't have food resources in their county communities. They're having a big event here called A Fair and White. It's coming up August 10th. And so it's a fun event. The tickets are for sale at LFR, lovingfoodresources.org. And so part of the funding then will help to provide the food purchases that our clients can go in and shop. So you don't just come and get a bag of food or just a simple box, but they actually kind of come in and go up and down the aisles and pick what they like.
But I think your story is an interesting one, that if you're involved in this or come out to it, the one thing you should be careful about is don't bring a truck because they're going to put you to work.
That's right. If you got a pickup truck, you know what it's like.
Yeah, especially to move food to other people.
That's right.
But it seems like you guys must also, I don't know if they get it when they come to work for WNCAP, but you get roller skates also? Because it seems like you're getting around the community a little bit. I mean,
Yes.
you're going to a lot of different areas.
Yes, we serve 18 counties in western North Carolina, so we're all over the place. So we have an office in Macon County. So we have medical case managers over there. We do
Cleveland County.
Yeah, yes. Also, we do programs all over the 18 Western counties. So, whether it's a homeless shelter, whether it's a, like I said before, inpatient treatment facility, various types of places. Because, like I said before, I cannot stress enough that we are all, vulnerable to various types of things, and the public needs to know certain types of information to kind of reduce some of that stigma that we kind of talk about.
How many folks are involved with WNCAP?
Oh
About.
man. Well, if you count, all our volunteers for all the events we do, over 100 ambassadors for Dining Out for Life alone. I mean, I would say over the course of a year, thousands of people either contribute financially or they volunteer for one of our events. They help us out when we're helping out Loving Food Resources, which, again, just to echo, is a really fantastic organization that helps people living with HIV.
On the staff itself, how many ballpark?
Oh, around 20 staff, I would say.
Just out of the West North Carolina group?
That's right. Most of us are based in Asheville at our East Asheville location, but like Devin said, we do have offices in Franklin, Macon County, and Cleveland County as well. We just figured out, we're putting together an annual report that sort of crunches all the numbers about what WNCAP does, and our case managers that, take care of folks who are living with HIV, and oftentimes many other challenges, getting them to medical appointments and such. They drove over 100,000 miles this past year.
And I asked Michael before about how he got involved in the organization. We heard his story. How did you get involved?
How did I get involved with WNCAP? Well, I'm originally from Washington, D.C., and I moved here 2 years ago, and I had always been involved in nonprofit and political causes, mostly related to the arts and arts education, but, I had a lot of friends who were directly impacted by HIV, and obviously as a gay man, it's something I think about, and so I instantly was drawn to WNCAP's mission, and it's been a great 2 years.
And Devin, the same thing too, that when you came, you're from where originally?
I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, and we're having trouble a little bit with the mic
Sorry.
here. No, not your fault. I think it's our mic's fault. But so you came into the Asheville area. How did you find WNCAP, or how did WNCAP find you?
Yeah, so to kind of backtrack a little bit, I'm from originally Charlotte, North Carolina. I spent 7 years in the North Carolina Army Guard. I did a tour of duty in Egypt. And when I get back, I kind of moved to Asheville on a whim, and that's where I finished up my degree at UNC Asheville. So after UNC Asheville, I interned at a lot of nonprofit organizations around Asheville, kind of like Man the Food Bank. So WNCAP was kind of drawn to me, and to be honest, like I said before, I was kind of unfamiliar with WNCAP, and when I got with WNCAP, I like I said, off the bat, I kind of that passion kind of grew day by day, and public health was a very important thing in my life and something that I wanted to spread to other people.
So how did you get involved with WNCAP? You just walked in one day and said I want a job?
No, it was kind of more to it than that. Just doing my research about WinCap and all the great services that it provides the community, and what the great how it serves Western North Carolina, and Western North Carolina's been a big part of my life, and also public health is a big part of my life. So, and like I said, over time and time, it's became a big thing to me and something that I wanted to be part of my life.
So we have WNCAP in Western North Carolina. Are there comparable organizations in the eastern part of the state, or how does it work?
Yeah, there are, in the old days it was sort of ASOs, AIDS service organizations. Now it's probably closer to HIV service organizations and beyond, as issues like hepatitis and other chronic illnesses are being treated by organizations like us. But yeah, there are plenty of other ones east of us. I'm sure Michael can talk more about specific ones.
One way to
but-
find out is simply calling 1-800-CDC-INFO. So that's the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. They've got a great database, and so it's 232-4636. You call them, and they can put you in touch with an AIDS project anywhere across the country, so not just in North Carolina.
That's
but-
pretty. I'm impressed. So you know these numbers, but you don't have to worry about your own number. Is that correct? No, like the one says Einstein. What was his phone number? You didn't know. He never called himself. So
Yeah.
You never have to call yourself.
Well, and I do know my phone numbers. A lot of people don't know their phone numbers or cell numbers, but those are the numbers that we present when we're out speaking to groups, as Devin's talked about. To give that resource, we have a piece of paper, and you can actually find it at our website, wincap.org, under the education click there. It'll say info, resources, CDC is one of them, but there are other websites and other phone numbers there, needle exchange phone numbers in our community for harm reduction services. We operate the needle exchange program out of our office as well. The Study Collective is local, and some others that have been created now with the new laws that allow needle exchange in the state of North Carolina, for example.
And I'll just ask to wrap up. I'll ask Michael again. If folks want to get information, we mentioned a couple of different ways. Best bet is probably go to the website initially.
Best bet is probably to Google us and go to WNCAP.org or find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Again, you can call our main office. You can email info@wincap.org if you're interested in the services we provide. If you're interested in getting involved, becoming a volunteer or a donor, we exist only because of the wonderful support of our community and our community members.
And I'd like to thank each of you for coming on board the second half of the Blaine's Oral Show today. Michael, I'll try to get names. It's Michael Pondel.
Yes.
It's also, I think I got it, it's Michael
Harney.
And it's also Devin
Lipford.
Lifford. And again, thanks
Got
for
it.
being on board. Also, let me thank Amy Prisnash, my producer. Also, Zuzu Welsh, who provided the music you heard at the beginning of the show, and you won't hear at the end because we're going to go back to regular broadcasting for WPVM. We hope to see you next Wednesday here on WPVM at 9 a.m. at the regular time on the Blaine's World Show. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you hopefully next week.
Thanks.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Blaine.